It's time!
Hey, Dave, listen up, please.
Scottie, that's a great question. I got a question for you, though, Scottie. You know that there's other players on our team besides Desi.
But what are you waiting for?
I don't know, something amazing.
Jones for three, and he banks it in.
Bailey, up and in, and a chance for three.
Welcome into the basketball podcast of Mid-America. I am Seth Campbell, joined by Scottie Bordelon here in just 1 second, but we've got a loaded basketball podcast of Mid-America for you today. The Hogs are the number 2 seed in the SEC tournament. We will talk about matchups, good and bad for the Razorbacks. We're also going to go to court. Scottie is bringing his clients because he feels like he has a case against the SEC for their pick of player of the year in Herb Jones. We'll have to get to all of that. And we'll talk a little bit of Jalen Williams, which we're going to get to in just 1 second. But overall, Scottie, the basketball team is in a position that in our lifetimes we haven't seen a lot of.
Oh my gosh, no. So since Arkansas jumped into the top 25, I think 3 weeks ago, I've been calling my dad every Monday and just talking to him about the team and just trying to get some perspective on, how well Arkansas is playing right now and, their ranking in various polls and whatnot. And he was like, for a long stretch of time, like from Eddie Sutton to Nolan Richardson, like there was rarely a time when Arkansas wasn't relevant nationally. And then it just fell off the face of the planet, except for a couple of years under Mike Anderson, where they're going to the NCAA tournament. They're just about to crack their way into the Sweet 16, and then things don't go well at the end of a North Carolina game. But I mean, think about it. Like when they jumped from 20 to 12 a couple weeks ago, that was the biggest single week jump they had made in the poll since before I was born.
Wow.
And then they jump into the top 10 this week for the first time since I was less than 2 years old. I mean, I'm 27. I mean, I understand that I'm very young and don't have the greatest historical perspective on Arkansas basketball probably. But that's just, it's unique and it's new to me. It's very new. And I'm still kind of trying to wrap my head around it. Like, covering a top 10 Arkansas basketball team. Like, I didn't know if I would get to do that.
Right.
Because there were lots of years, I mean, even when I was in college, there were lots of years where Arkansas was fun to watch, but they weren't necessarily a good team that you felt like could do some damage in the SEC tournament and the NCAA tournament, and they didn't. I mean, they made it to some conference championship games, I think, under Mike Anderson. But as far as like big runs in the postseason and like getting the program back on a national stage, like permanently, it just never came to fruition. But now, and this is a testament to Eric Musselman. I thought this was really interesting. On Monday, I found that his last year at Nevada, he had Nevada in the top 10 for 16 weeks. The next year he goes to Arkansas, and they're kind of like, they were a decent team.
Right.
They were a decent team. They were very flawed, though. Didn't have depth, obviously. Size was an issue. The next year, he's got Arkansas back in the top 10. So he's taken 2 programs in a span of 3 years and pushed them into the top 10. I mean, that's super impressive. And to turn this team around from where it was, the funk that it was in, like in mid-January, like I've mentioned a couple weeks ago, there was a fan that like was posting Eric Musselman's mugshot on Twitter just because he was so pissed off that the basketball team was mediocre.
Yeah.
Arkansas has lost 1 game since then, and it wasn't in the league. And I'm enjoying the heck out of covering this team, the personalities on this team. We'll get into that with Devo Davis and some of the other guys. I talked to Devo this week. He was a joy to sit with and talk to one-on-one on Zoom. Just kind of get to know him better because he's a fun, energetic guy, kind of lights up the room when he walks into it, does some quirky things that, kind of keeps the mood light. All that to say, like, Arkansas basketball is back. Like, Arkansas basketball is back where it used to be, and it's back where it belongs, and I can't wait for the postseason to get started because this is like when the season really gets going.
Right. Well, this is my favorite time of the year. Starting right about now.
Yeah, there's daytime basketball on.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
I love it.
I was talking to my wife, and I was like, all in all, it took me 7 hours to file my taxes yesterday.
Mercy.
I don't want to talk about all of that necessarily, but I was literally talking to my wife about how frustrating it was. But then I was like, it wasn't all that bad though, because I turned on the TV and I was watching daytime basketball.
Yeah, games
while
on
I was
in the
doing
background's
it.
great.
So, and these are games that actually mean something. Like, these teams are going to play, and the loser's going to go home, especially in the first round of the ACC tournament. Sorry, 4-17 Boston College. You're not making it.
We've already had buzzer beaters in conference tournaments. Like, Notre Dame won on a crazy shot, like a 30-footer at the buzzer to win kind of a meaningless game, but it's crazy. It's fun. And then I was finishing up spring football, and then I wrote a story about Justin Smith late last night after my wife fell asleep. And Gonzaga and BYU were playing in the WCC championship game. Like, so
BYU was winning too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was trying not to get my hopes up. I pulled for chaos, and Gonzaga going down would have been chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
Because BYU, I think, was the last team that's beaten Gonzaga. And then they get Gonzaga again in the WCC finals. And they scored like 1.7 points per possession in the first half. And then they scored like 0.7 in the second half. So it was hot and cold for BYU. But, I mean, basketball's about to be on all day, every day. And that's heaven on earth for me.
So you've gotten to cover the Razorbacks in one tournament when they played Butler.
In 2018.
In 2018.
Mm-hmm.
You may not have gotten to experience the other side of this, but as a person covering the team, and I'm sure fans have an opinion on this as well, when Arkansas is in the tournament, would you rather them play on Thursday or Friday, and would you rather them play early or late?
How about late on Friday?
You want to be one of the last games.
I mean, that's prime time. Everybody's going to be locked into that game. You're going to have so many eyes nationally on you. Like, you've already got the attention of the country because you're in the top 10. You just beat a top 10 Alabama team on your home floor on ESPN a couple weeks ago. You're like, national analysts are talking about you as like one of the hottest teams in the country, like a dark horse to like make a Final Four run.
Right.
Dari Noka on Saturday, he does that show on Saturday mornings with Mel Kiper. He was saying that he picked, so both of those guys picked like 5 teams to potentially win the whole thing, and Dari Noka took Arkansas. And I know he's kind of an SEC network guy, so he's going to like cape up for the league, but that's where you are right now. And I think you want as many eyeballs on you as you can. And I think that's beneficial for not only guys like Moses Moody, he's lottery pick, one and done. His life is about to change for the better in like very soon.
Mm-hmm.
But guys like Devo Davis, he goes out and plays well. He might end up on all SEC preseason teams. Justin Smith might catch the eye of some basketball minds, at various levels, and might take an interest in him. Just things like that. Like playing in prime time, I mean, you can't beat that. Jack Henley a couple years ago.
Prime time is when we
play. I think that's the attitude this Arkansas basketball team has too.
That makes sense. Okay, I get that. But I don't know. So put yourself not necessarily in your reporter shoes, but in your fan shoes, Scottie. For me, I'll give it back to you in just a second. For me, I almost want to be the first game on Thursday. I just want it over with, because if you're a fan, you want to know. You want to know, I guess. So I don't know though, because if you lose, it's going to ruin the rest of the 2 days. But if you win, you can sit back and enjoy the 2 greatest days in sports.
Yeah.
So I guess that's kind of the one good thing about it when Arkansas is not in it. I'm not going to say that there's any other good things or that really matters. But when Arkansas is not in it, you just sit back and enjoy the 2 days. But when Arkansas is in it, as a fan of the team, I would almost rather than play the noon, I guess it'd be 11 our time, game on Thursday, and let's roll with it. Because you're just going to be sitting in anticipation if you wait till Friday night and you're trying to wait.
But it would be worth it, though. Because, like, if you're a fan watching the team and they don't tip off until 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock on a Friday, potentially, I mean, the anticipation is going to be killing you. But that's how you're spending your Friday night. Like, that's fun. You're either probably watching at home with some of your boys, or you're potentially at JJ's watching the game with like
as many people as you can.
Yeah, with as many people as they can pack into that place, within reason. Like, that is, and when your team's good, that is, as a fan, I imagine that would be as good as it gets.
Okay. I can buy that. The nerves inside of me say, I don't necessarily know if I'd do that, but I can buy that. You don't want to necessarily play on a Thursday when everybody's at work. Of course, that would be it's the least productive day in work anyway. But,
yeah. Your anxiety would be killing you, but if things go well, that release and the enjoyment of the game would be so worth it, I think.
That's a valid point.
It would be a party.
All right, let's get into 2 things. I want you to talk about Devo before we put Herb. I did it, Scottie. I said Herb instead of Herb. We were talking about this before, and I said Herb Jones, and Scottie made fun of me. And
no, you called him Herb Jones.
Herb Jones. Yeah,
like the Subway bread.
Yeah, well, these things happen.
No, it's all good. You're good.
Herb, like the Subway bread. Yeah.
Yeah, you bounced back.
So Herb Jones, we're going to put him on trial in just 1 second, but I want to talk about Devo Davis. I want to talk about the absence of Jalen Williams. Is the absence of Jalen Williams a thing? It's starting to get creep. As I said, postseason's starting, and it's starting to creep in the back of Razorback fans' mind that, hey, he's not with the team when the SEC tournament starts. He's a key addition that this team needs when NCAA tournament happens. Like, is this something that red flags are being raised, and rightly so, Scottie?
It's a little bit of a concern just because you want to go into the postseason like at full strength, right? And Arkansas right now, like, they're comfortably in the NCAA tournament field. They are comfortably on the 3 line. And you're right there on the verge of pushing to a 2, which is...
Yeah, for sure. I think if you win the tournament, you might be a 2.
I think if you just make the finals, you might be a 2, depending... it all depends on what happens to the teams in front of you. Maybe the lowest 2 seed, maybe stumbles in their conference tournament, and when they stumble and lose, like, it's ugly. You know what I mean? Like, it could be bad. I think that's a way that Arkansas could get on that 2 line. But Jalen's absence it's concerning in a way, just because Justin Smith against Texas A&M had to play all 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's a guy that, he's been, as well as he's been playing since, the end of January, he's still the same guy that had ankle surgery on January 1st. Like, he's putting a lot of miles on that ankle and a lot of miles on those legs, just holding down the front court for Arkansas. And Justin Smith and Jalen Williams, when they share the floor together, Arkansas's defense is just phenomenal. And, I think Arkansas might be able to get away with not having him in certain games. But if Arkansas was to play Missouri on Friday, that would be a game that, if Jalen Williams isn't playing, I might call it a toss-up on a neutral floor.
Yeah, Missouri is not a good matchup for Arkansas.
Missouri's got Jeremiah Tillman, who they made look like a pro in the first game when Justin Smith wasn't there. And then he didn't play in the second game, and Arkansas still had to go to overtime with Missouri to win on the road. And so their front line is like Jeremiah Tillman, Kobe Brown, and Mitchell Smith. Like, those are guys that you got to account for. And Connor Vanover can give you some good minutes, I think, against Missouri, but you would feel much better if your front court was deeper for the tournament. I think Jalen will be. I would bet that Jalen's back for the NCAA tournament at the least, at the latest. You know what I mean? You know, if Arkansas makes a weekend run in the SEC tournament, who knows?
Right.
But having him would be a big deal.
I think that he's a huge factor. Exactly what you brought up, that, you know, Arkansas's matchup nightmare might be the fact that if they play Missouri in the first round, that might be the toughest matchup in the entire tournament for them without Jalen Williams.
You might want to hope that Severe Wheeler drops another triple-double on Missouri and Arkansas gets Georgia again.
Georgia's beaten them twice, if I'm correct.
Is that right?
Missouri. I could be wrong about that. But if Georgia is beating them twice, then beating a team 3 times is rather hard to do as well. So that's just something to keep an eye on. Going back to, so this is a weird thing because sometimes people don't want to play deep into the conference tournament, right? You can play in back-to-back games. You talk about Justin Smith. That could be a lot of wear and tear on Justin Smith if he's playing 40 minutes. Arkansas better hope that he's not. But if you can somehow play your way into that 2, it's worth it, and here's why. The website that I brought up last week, Bracket Odds, telling you how far teams advance and how many teams advance to win it all and all that stuff from each seed. Your expected number of wins when you are a 3 seed is 1.85. So that's like the average of how many, when you're a 3 seed, how many wins you get. So you get 1 just short of 2. When you're a 2 seed, that bumps up to 2.39. So basically 2.4. You have basically just under a 0.4 chance of advancing farther in your more wins. The 2 seed is 2. The 1 seed is just under 2. It makes a difference. It makes a difference in the first game that you playing the 15 instead of the 14, especially if, you know, maybe Jalen Williams hasn't played and you want to give him a game back to get his legs underneath him. It matters when you're playing that second round game, which everybody's goal for this Arkansas team is the Sweet 16. So all of these things matter. And so if you can play your way into that 2 seed, you do at the SEC tournament. And I think that's why Arkansas is going to try and win as many games as they can. Now, that may not happen. And if they lose the first game, to say maybe a tough matchup with Missouri, I don't think they drop off the 3 line. But
yeah, I think if they lose to Georgia, if Georgia beats Missouri and then Arkansas loses to Georgia, I think there's a chance they fall off the 3 line. But if you lose to Missouri, I think you're still on the 3, but you might be hanging on.
Well, in Lenardi's projections with the teams that he's got, Arkansas matched up the top 4 teams. I believe it was Virginia is the 4, Arkansas the 3, Houston the 2, and Gonzaga the 1. Those are all really good teams, but none of them just scare you. I mean,
Gonzaga scares the hell out of me.
Gonzaga's good, but they showed that they're human.
Yeah, and then they showed they're superhuman in the second half. You know what I mean? Like I filled out USBWA All-Americans,
right.
All-American list the other day, and I think there was like 3 guys from Gonzaga, like 3 of their 5 starters are like All-Americans. But
okay.
And Arkansas's got one that I listed.
All right, and then let's talk a little bit about. So that's just, I think, the importance of the SEC tournament for Arkansas. Just to put a little bow on that, because I think that's why the SEC tournament could be important for Arkansas when they play.
I will say one more thing
about
the SEC tournament, and it's Justin Smith related. So the AP comes out with their All-SEC teams. If you look at the All-SEC second team for the AP, it's got Drew Smith and Jeremiah Tillman. Are you telling me Justin Smith doesn't belong on that team, maybe ahead of both of those guys?
Yeah.
Justin Smith is going to go into this game pissed off. I mean, he came to his media availability on Tuesday wearing the Bobby Portis underdog sweatshirt or the hoodie. That was fitting. And he said he was a little bit surprised that he wasn't named to an All-SEC team, but it's not going to faze him. And Eric Musselman doesn't think it's going to bother him, but it's going to fuel him, I think. Like he's going to see Jeremiah Tillman lined up across from him and Drew Smith at some point in that game. And it's probably going to be a little bit personal. Because I mean,
Just a bit.
He said, you know, it's just a list, but at the same time, some of the guys that are on those lists, they have to see me, and they have to see it. They have to see Arkansas as a team. So, I think it's fuel for Justin. I think he's going to go into this SEC tournament pissed off and on a mission.
Well, if it's fuel for Justin, I think the rest of the league should probably watch out. All right, you got to talk to Devo Davis. You're going to have a story out on wholehogsports.com, Scottie, real soon, just into the background of Devo. And, of course, naturally, you had to ask him about his tattoos. But more than that, you got to dive into the person that is Devo Davis. So what did you learn about Devo?
So, first question, are we going to show a little bit of the clip of the Zoom that I had with him?
Oh, shoot, yes. That slipped my mind. Yes, I watched it. It was good.
Yeah. Are we going to put it in this? I think a lot of people would probably like to see a little bit of that at least. But
I'll put some of it in here for sure. So you pitch. So we'll go back to that. I'll pitch to that. You say some things, and you're like, and I think that we'll just, okay. So here's how we'll do it. You'll say some things about Devo. You're like, hey, some of the highlights or whatever. And here's actually some of the interview with Devo that we just figured would be a better way to show you or something like that. Okay. Yeah, it's all you.
Yeah, so earlier this week, I got a text from Jimmy Carter, who wrote for Whole Hog before I was here. And he texted me, I think it was Saturday night or Sunday night. And he was like, I'm just now getting around to watching the game. And then he sends me a text and he said, Devo is so good. He's so good. And then we started texting back and forth about him, about his growth and, some of the, just like the quirky things that he does on the court. And Jimmy asked me, he said, do you know why Devo wears his headband sometimes like with the Nike logo right side up and then other times it's upside down? And I'm like, I don't know why he does that, but I've noticed it. And then he also wears like a thin headband with the logo right side up. And then there are some games where he comes out, he's wearing a headband and a white undershirt. And then after the second TV timeout, he's not wearing either one. And then in the second half of that game, he's wearing a different pair of shoes than he did in the first half. And so he's got like some kind of quirky, interesting, and fun, just kind of accessory apparel habits. And I just kind of wanted to talk to him about that. And then, his upbringing and just kind of what I like to know what drives guys. And Devo told me, I said, what motivates you? Like what drives you to like get up every day and just get to work and grind, try to be the best you can. And he said, I'll literally do anything that's asked of me for myself, my family, and the team, the coaching staff. He said, if somebody told me that I could have whatever I wanted, I would jump off a bridge into the ocean. I would swim across the ocean to get whatever I wanted for myself and my family, the team, and all that. And that's
big.
That's pretty big. I mean, it shows the eagerness that he has to want to be great, and he wants to be great like now, but he also understands it's a process. And like he went through the process like early in the season. Like he was a seldom used bench piece earlier in the year. Like his best games in the non-conference were like Southern, and he scored like 10 points in the last 10 minutes of the second half. Like the game was already out of hand. And so it's kind of like the mop-up type minutes, but he played really well in those. And then you get into conference play, and I think the light switch came on for him in that Auburn game on the road. He was used a lot to kind of shadow Justin Powell because Auburn didn't have Sharif Cooper at the time. So he's playing on the defensive end. He's playing ball screens against Justin Powell like 80% of his defensive possessions, and he doesn't get clipped by any of them. And then Jimmy Dykes said he made like one of the best individual defensive plays he's seen, where he kind of got caught up in a ball screen, rarely. And Justin Powell got to the rim, or Alan Flanagan got to the rim, and Devo just comes out of nowhere, strips the ball from Flanagan, and Arkansas gets possession, and they kind of control things after that. And then you saw the Georgia game. He had a great game. He was a menace in the open floor in that game. And he just kept growing and kept growing and kept growing. And he became a guy that Eric Musselman trusted late in games, even though he wasn't hitting shots in those late game situations. Eric Musselman still trusted him because he's shown so much growth in his game off the dribble. All that to say, he's one of the funnest personalities that I've been able to cover, at Arkansas. And he told me that he is, before the South Carolina game on the road, he brought out this big bag of colorful Tootsie Rolls in the locker room. And he said the guys were eating them, and then Arkansas went out and they started off hot, and they put up 100 points on the road.
So did he bring the Tootsie Rolls back?
The Texas A&M game, apparently he left them in Columbia. I don't know this, but he said they didn't have them for the Texas A&M game, and they came out slow. So, and then I asked Justin Smith about that. He confirmed that he brought out the big bag of candy for the South Carolina game. And Justin Smith said that there's just some things that Devo does that you just you kind of look over at him and you just kind of do one of those, because it's Devo. And he wore a mask for an entire practice the other day. Just don't know why, but that's just kind of Devo. He's an interesting character. He was a fun interview, and I asked him about his tattoos, but you can check out that story on the site, and we'll let you listen to a little bit of the interview now.
Yeah, for sure. Scottie wrote a fantastic story, so make sure to check it out on wholehogsports.com, and we cut up a little bit, and we're going to show it to you right now.
But I'm just curious what this season has been like for you personally, how it's gone for you, I guess, from the beginning of the year until now.
Well, at the beginning of the year, it was a rough start for me, trying to find ways to get on the court. But myself, I'm just talking to the people that's in my inner circle, telling me just to go hard and just continue to trust the process and just let the game come to me and just let the flow of the game come to me. And as you see now, I'm getting a rhythm, and I got a few starts under my belt, and I'm playing really well right now, helping the team out in many ways.
How does it feel to be, I think you've started, since the Oklahoma State game, I think you've started every game since. So you're a big part of the success this team is having. And this is the most success the program's had since probably well before you were born, I imagine. I think I was only 2 last time I ranked in the top 10. What does that mean to you, as an Arkansas kid? That's got to be pretty special.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun being here. I mean, I didn't expect it to be this fun, knowing that COVID is around and just different obstacles trying to figure its way into our inner circle as a team. I mean, we as a team is having a lot of success. The coaching staff is wonderful. They're helping us out in many ways. So once we step on the court, we're able to find ways to win the game. And so just executing down the stretch is one key thing, and that's what the coaches is putting big emphasis on for sure. And so we're just going into every practice, making sure we execute everything, such as the defensive end and the offensive end, and just trying to find ways to pull these games off. And as you know, we're number 8 in the AP polls, and it feels wonderful. But we're not done for sure. As you know, there's 8 more spots to jump. So hopefully we go into this weekend coming up ready to play and make some noise for sure.
Was there a moment during the season when things kind of clicked for you, where you thought, I can be a big key, or I can be a big piece to what we're doing?
Yeah, just knowing that I'm pushing everybody at practice, and that's where it all started. Just coming into practice, just practicing super hard. As you see, we're wearing these catapults. It helps us out at the end of practices, telling us how much explosiveness we've done during the practice, or how fast we've been running, or how much twitching we've been moving and things like that. So just practicing hard, just trying to push everyone so we can get better as individuals as well, but also as a team. And that's what we really need. And as you see, we've clicked since Justin got back. He's helped us out a lot, tremendously. And as you know, we're on the 11th grade win streak.
Are you superstitious in any ways? In any way, shape, or form, are you superstitious? Because I've noticed some things about some of the stuff you wear during games, and I'm curious if you're superstitious.
No, not at all. Just playing me, being myself, and just out there having fun for sure.
Mm-hmm. I asked that because I've noticed in some halves, you'll wear a headband and like the t-shirt underneath the jersey, and then the second half you'll come out, you're not wearing either one.
Yeah.
You got your headband on and it's turned upside down. Is there like a method to some of that?
Nah, I mean, since I started, I've been seeing a lot of people do the upside down Nike sign headband. But I think me and JD, we started that, and we've just been doing it, just starting something new. But now I actually just take my shirt off and my headband. I feel like I feel a little lighter, you know what I mean? After the first half, so just taking it off, just feeling get more comfortable. So I'm able to do a couple more extra things on the court.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was pretty curious about that.
Yeah, a lot of people ask. It's crazy.
Really, what do you tell them exactly what you just said? I mean, there's nothing like extra behind it. It's just
it's nothing extra. I mean, the upside down headband, I just did that myself, and then JD and all them start doing it. But I mean, me myself, I just do it just because of just being different. But besides that, taking the shirt off and things like that, I just feel more comfortable taking it off in the second half after getting warmed up and things like that.
Okay, I got you. So I've noticed you wear like the thicker headband, and then there's like the thinner headband too. Is it just kind of like I'm feeling this game?
Switching up, switching up. Me and my pops talk about it all the time. He said, that Devo with the upside down Nike sign, he's something different. And I said, okay, I'm gonna try him out next game. But then sometimes I come out and I don't gotta wear it and still do good. And so we just talk about it, have fun with it for sure.
Is there anybody else on the team that's superstitious? Like have to do this before a game to get themselves ready, or that they don't do something they eat?
Let me see. I know. The last couple games, a couple people, I be bringing like candy to the locker room, and there's some little colorful Tootsie Rolls. It's crazy, but I be having a big old bag. My mom and auntie and cousins, they all brought me some down once they came to the game, and I brought them to the game, and since we've been eating them, we're coming out hot, you know. I mean, that Texas A&M game, we didn't really have none because I forgot them. But the games before, like South Carolina, you see, we came out hot and things like that. But we be eating candy or whatever it takes to get us hyped up, you know. Listen to some jams in the locker room, just having fun. Certain things turn us up.
Last one, I'll let you go. I appreciate your time. You've been a lot of fun. What motivates you as a person? I guess that I'll ask that separately, as a person, and then on the basketball court, what drives you?
What drives me as a person, just wanting whatever, just wanting like success, you know, just wanting to be great, and that's something that I'll always put a big emphasis on. And on what it takes, I'll do it. Whatever it takes, I'll do it. Whatever it takes to be great. Man, if that's jumping off the bridge into the ocean, I'll do it. If they say if that's what it takes for me to be great, if it's swimming across the ocean, whatever it takes, I'll do it, just because I want the best for me and my family. And so, just like you said, on the court as well, I do whatever it takes to help the team out, or to help me as an individual out, or to help the coaching staff, or as a community as a whole. Whatever it takes, I do it. And so, just me, just knowing that I want the best for me and my family and the people around me, and whatever puts us in the right place to win or to be great, I do it.
For sure. You know, I've got one more. It's another off the wall one. I like to ask guys about the tattoos that they have, because you don't get tattoos typically for no reason. Like there's something behind it. I've got one on my arm, means something. I'd say you got one on your on your left arm that I can see, and then I think you've got 501 on your shin, which I imagine had to hurt a lot. But what does what's the meaning behind the sleeve on the left arm?
Okay, well, you see, it say right here, it says the sky. It says sky is the limit. It says sky is the limit, and it goes all the way around here.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got here, you see the basketball.
Yeah.
See the basketball. You got one dunking, dunks all here.
Yeah.
They dunking while he's shooting it. And then right here, you see it say faith with the basketball.
Yeah.
The crazy part, this right here, hurt the worst. The little bird right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then you see right here, it say the Ville. It say the Ville.
Mm-hmm.
So Jacksonville, so the Ville. And then I got like the buildings and things like that. We got here a little scripture or whatever here.
Oh, nice.
Something that I say, something that I take pride in. It say, sometimes we hope for the best, even though the worst is yet to come. Stay and then it say that's what makes us stronger. And it say FOE, which is family over everything.
Right.
And then here, got my mom name,
nice.
My grandma name right here. And of course, you said 501.
Yeah.
I got the 501 here. You know what this stands for?
No, I know. I'm 870, but I know
501. Arkansas, baby.
Yeah.
Jacksonville, Arkansas, that's where I'm from.
Yeah, sure. I'm from the 870, but I know it.
That's what I think that's where Daisy's from. That's his area code. Jonesboro.
Fantastic interview. Lots of insight. He is very, very interesting. And I think that you brought out a lot of that side in him.
Yeah, I like to get those guys that have, a lot of the fun personality. I like to get them one-on-one. Like last year, before the SEC tournament, I talked to Adrio Bailey. Because Adrio Bailey was another one of those guys that'll walk into a room and everything will light up. So I kind of like covering those guys. Not that I don't like covering other guys, because you need some dudes who are like their mindset is very steady and they're workmanlike. But anytime you can pull a little bit extra out of some guys, that's always fun. Yeah. Devo was great.
Devo was fantastic. All right, here we go. We've been teasing it for a while. It's time to do it, Scottie. We are going to put Herb Jones on trial. Herb. You just laugh at me every time I say it. I can't help it. All right. Mr. Bordelon, welcome to the Hardcourt Kangaroo Court. And we need a better name than that. I don't know.
Hardwood Kangaroo Court.
Hardwood Kangaroo Court. That sounds better. All right. We'll try that again. Welcome to the Hardwood Kangaroo Court. Mr. Bordelon, have you brought your clients with you today?
Yes, I have. I will be representing Mr. Moody, and mainly Mr. Moody.
So did Mr. Smith didn't need to tag along?
I don't think so. It's kind of Mr. Smith had a great year.
Uh-huh.
He had a great year. He was vital to Arkansas's team success. Arkansas was 20-2.
Your Honor recognizes that.
When he was on the floor, Arkansas was fantastic, and they clearly struggled when he didn't play, and they missed his presence. But Mr. Moody is I think he's in a class of. I mean, I think he's the best player in the SEC, and the case for Moses Moody, okay, so first we'll go with Herb Jones. Like the case for him, according to some people at Alabama, better rebounding numbers, better assist numbers, better field goal percentage, better three-point field goal percentage, and he's the better defender. That's the argument for Mr. Jones.
Yes, okay.
So first of all, in that argument, you can throw three-point field goal percentage for Herb Jones out the window.
Why is that?
Just throw it out. It's a silly talking point. Moses... Okay, so Herb Jones shot 45% from three this season. He only took 44.
Ooh.
Moses Moody made more threes than Herb Jones attempted. So who's the bigger threat from deep? You can't just look at the surface level numbers, because if you just looked at that, that would tell you that Moses Moody is not a better three-point shooter than Herb Jones, but that is, I mean, that's just factually, that's invalid. Who would you want game on the line, Herb Jones from three or Moses Moody from three?
I am impartial in this as the judge, but I would say Moses Moody.
I mean, you don't have to answer. That can be rhetorical. We'll go to assist numbers next. Moses Moody had 48. Herb Jones had 85. So Herb Jones had the leg up there. But I don't want my client leading my team in assists. Okay? So I want him scoring. Moses Moody is an elite scorer who has shown that he can drop 20-plus points on your head by getting mainly to the free throw line. He's also shown that he can drop 25-plus on your head by having the best three-point shooting stretch that he's had all season. I mean, he's around 45% from three-point range over the last couple weeks of the regular season. Herb Jones scored 20-plus points one time all season. Moses Moody scored 20-plus points twice against Alabama.
Ooh.
Moses Moody scored 20-plus points 8 times this season, and 6 of them came in conference play, and he scored 20-plus points in 3 of the 4 final games of the regular season. So that's what I got to say about that. Rebounding. We want to get into rebounding next. Moses Moody had 149 for the season. He was 1 off the team lead. So he had 149 rebounds. Justin Smith had 150. And Moses Moody had 52 offensive rebounds. Herb Jones had 165 rebounds, 55 on the offensive end. So Herb Jones kind of had a small leg up there. But Moses Moody is a guard. And I know that Herb Jones is you classify him as a point forward type, like he's 6'8". But he's 6'8". Moses Moody's rebounding, and he's one of the best offensive rebounding guards in the SEC, and he's doing this at 6'6". Plus, I wrote about it earlier in the season, when Moses Moody hits the offensive glass and he gets offensive rebounds, Arkansas almost instantaneously turned those offensive rebounds into offense. So do we want to get into defense now?
Yeah, let's talk defense, because that is something that Herb Jones kind of hangs his hat on. He won Defensive Player of the Year in the SEC.
Yep.
A lot of people are going to give that category to him. Do you have something to say to the contrary, Mr. Bordelon?
No, I'm not discrediting Herb Jones as a great defensive player in the league. I think you saw that when Alabama and Arkansas played both times during the regular season. Herb Jones was diving on the floor for loose balls. He was blocking shots, coming up with steals. He took on Justin Smith a lot, which is, I mean, anybody can tell you, especially some of the guys from some of Herb Jones's own teammates and some of the guys from Florida, Missouri, whoever. Justin Smith is a load, and Herb Jones was pretty much given the Justin Smith assignment. That's a big task to take on. Moses Moody does a lot of those same things. Both guys impact the defensive end of the floor a lot, but being a great defender is not all about taking charges or coming up with blocks and steals. And are you a great help defender? Do you rotate properly? Are you willing to dive on the floor for loose balls, get extra possessions for your team, make winning plays on the defensive end? Both of those guys do that. However, when Arkansas was turning its season around in late January, early February, Moses Moody went on an 8-game stretch where he held opponents to 22% shooting when he was the nearest defender. I'm sure Herb Jones was great there too, but until someone on the Alabama side gives me some numbers on opponents' field goals made and opponents' field goals attempted against Herb Jones, I don't know. I like Moses Moody on the defensive end.
You're going with Moses Moody. I think that's okay. And you talk about game-winning plays. He made one against A&M on the defensive side of the ball with the block.
Absolutely.
At the end of the game. That was a game-saving block.
And then less than a minute later, he hits the go-ahead 3.
Yeah, so I think that your case does your case rest, Mr. Bordelon?
I think so.
I think it rests rather well, too. Spoiler, you were not trying to impress me, or not impress me, change my mind, because my mind was already made up with the fact of Moses Moody should have been player of the year and Justin Smith not getting on any kind of team. We talked about that last week a little bit. The fact of he might deserve to be on the first team, and then all of a sudden he didn't even make the second team. We got some qualms with the people that are picking. Just saying.
So one more point. Points per game. So the Player of the Year award goes to typically the best, most well-rounded player, more often than not, on the best team in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are years like with Arkansas last season with Mason Jones, and then with Reggie Perry at Mississippi State. Those two guys shared the AP award. And Emmanuel Quickly, the best player on the best team in the league, won the award. The Player of the Year doesn't necessarily have to go to the best player. And I mean, that's been established. But it goes to a well-rounded guy. So points per game doesn't tell the whole story, because you can't just score. You can't just score and do nothing else, or else Cameron Thomas would have won SEC Player of the Year.
Right.
So I think Herb Jones is the Player of the Year award winner who scored the fewest points per game over a season.
I think I saw a stat where six players in the SEC this year had more points per game than him. Maybe it was more. Maybe it
had to be more, because he only averaged about 10 or 11 a game.
I can't remember what I was seeing from that stat thing, but yeah, no.
But I believe he averaged the fewest points per game for an SEC Player of the Year winner.
Yikes!
That doesn't tell the whole story,
right?
But it's a factor.
So this is the thing with postseason's awards. They mean something, or else they wouldn't give them out. But they don't mean everything, because there's 14 guys that voted from the AP. Their coaches voted as well. They don't watch every single game. As much as coaches are going to watch games to scout, but I just don't believe they can watch every single second of every single game, AP voters or guys that are coaches in the league. So there's going to be some misses, or just some guys that don't know the full story. We haven't watched every single minute of every single game that Herb Jones has been on.
Absolutely, yeah. And this, I'm not trying to take away from him. I'm just kind of stating the case for Mr. Moody.
It just seems like at this point there were some things that were missed, with Justin Smith being left off, with Moses winning Freshman of the Year. And, I think you can kind of make a case, but when you just look at the numbers, you're just kind of befuddled. And then also, just because you win the league, I don't necessarily think you should be Coach of the Year. Mike Neighbors from the women's side, he votes that way. He said, if you win the league, I'm going to vote you for the Coach of the Year. But Nate Oates, what he did with Alabama, remarkable. What Eric Musselman did with Arkansas, almost unbelievable. There are two guys that had minutes playing. Ethan Henderson has been almost negligible to this point. And then Desi Sills has gotten less minutes this year than he did last year. So almost with a completely new roster, he's taken Arkansas to a top 10.
All new pieces.
Man. Anyway, they mean something. Postseason awards mean something. If somebody tells you that they don't mean anything, they're lying. But also they don't mean everything.
Right.
And Arkansas has a chance to prove that in the SEC tournament. All right, let's preview some of that SEC tournament. Arkansas coming in as the 2 seed. Before we get into the matchups, 2 things. First, I want to let you know that you can find Scottie and I. We are going to be doing a bracket challenge on ESPN. So the ESPN bracket challenge. We've already made a group, and we want you to join. There could possibly be a prize. We're working on that for the winner. But if you think that you can have the best bracket or beat Scottie or I, which, spoiler alert, you really can. I'm not that great. If you think you can, join B BPMA. It's the basketball podcast of Mid-America initials. BPMA on the ESPN Tournament Challenge. Go ahead and join now, and you can join all the way up until the first game. Once the first game start, this will lock. So you cannot add any more brackets after the first game start. I believe on Thursday, not on Tuesday. I believe on Thursday is how that works. But make sure to get in there. We'll try and put a link in the description. But it's if you go to the ESPN Tournament Challenge and you just search for a group, our group is called BPMA. So just make sure you can go and join that. Also, before we get into it, Scottie, I got like a hypothetical for you here. Would you rather situation? For the program's future, would you rather make a Sweet 16 or would you rather win the SEC tournament?
I think you'd rather have the NCAA tournament success, would you not?
Do you want me to answer? I'll give you an answer.
I mean, I think if I was not covering this team and just watching, I would rather Arkansas advance in the NCAA tournament than win the SEC tournament or get to the SEC tournament, because Arkansas has been in the conference tournament finals before.
They've been in the finals.
They haven't
lost.
Yeah,
They've only won once, which was the awful team.
Right.
I mean, I don't want to call them awful. They had Joe Johnson,
but yeah, like the season's not over after you potentially win the SEC tournament. Like there's still ball to be played, like more important ball. So I think you want to advance farther into March.
The SEC tournament doesn't mean anything. I'm sorry. It just doesn't. You battle for conference tournament or conference seeding, and you battle for being regular season champs.
I don't know if all coaches think this way, but you should give more of a crap about winning the regular season title than the tournament title.
I feel like you're going to get your best shot from each team. It doesn't matter if one team gets hot during a game, and you have 3 days to prepare or whatever it is. I feel like that is, like you say, it shows you who the best team is. It's a better identifier of who the best team is rather than running through the tournament.
Yeah, for sure. And the regular season is such a grind too. Like you're playing Saturday, Tuesday, or Saturday, Wednesday. I mean, you're having to turn around quick, but you're also having to do it for how many weeks? Like 10 weeks, 12 weeks? That's hard.
Yeah.
That's hard. And not to say that potentially 3 games in 3 days is easy, but you can get up for that, I think. But the regular season SEC schedule is a grind. I think a lot. I think if Arkansas had won, I think Eric Musselman would say, I'm not trying to speak for him, but I think he would say that he'd obviously love the SEC tournament title, clearly.
Right.
Because they didn't win the regular season title. But I think just the toughness and the grind of the regular season, I think a lot of coaches would rather have the regular season title.
I'd rather have the regular season title. I'd rather have the Sweet 16 appearance.
Yes.
The NCAA tournament just means more, and which is hilarious because that's the SEC slogan. But I didn't do that on purpose. But it just does, and I think that's where you got to go. You got to go in the NCAA tournament. Teams have proven that they've had success in the SEC tournament, even in the SEC, and that has gotten a coach fired from the University of Arkansas because he couldn't do it in the NCAA tournament. I think it's got to be the NCAA. All right, matchup-wise, Scottie, Arkansas, the 2 seed. On their side of the bracket, they will play the winner of Georgia and Missouri. Georgia's beaten Missouri twice, I believe. It's not a great matchup for Arkansas if they play Missouri. Arkansas ran through Georgia in their first game that they played them, their only game that they played them this year. And then also on that side is South Carolina, Ole Miss, LSU. I'm not really scared of any of these teams. I would have liked to see Arkansas play Tennessee again. I feel like that was a game that got away even without Justin Smith. And Tennessee, I'm just telling you now, I'm not a bracketologist, but I wouldn't pick them in the NCAA tournament. I wouldn't touch them with a 39.5-foot pole, according to the Grinch.
Yeah.
So I think that Arkansas's path is good. I mean, when you're one of the top teams in the tournament, there's not a lot of things that scare you in the SEC, but you stayed away from Kentucky and Florida, which are two teams that kind of give you headaches, and Mississippi State can at times. So those are all on the other side of the bracket. And you played well against Georgia. Missouri will be a tough matchup, especially if you don't have Jalen Williams.
Right.
But you ran through South Carolina. Ole Miss plays good defense, but if they play a zone against Arkansas,
they just muck up the game. They just make games no fun to watch. No fun at all.
And then LSU's a tough game anyway. Arkansas LSU's always close, and then I don't really think there's any love lost between those two teams. And
no.
Will Wade and Eric Musselman. I can't.
I like if Arkansas wins its first game. I like their draw.
Okay.
Because you're going to be playing either LSU, South Carolina, and Ole Miss, right? South Carolina is awful. LSU can score with the best of them sometimes, but that can be a selfish offensive basketball team. They're good offensively, but they can be selfish. There's a lot of NBA type ISO one-on-one type stuff going on there, and you got the guy in the league who probably leads the entire league in usage rate and shot rate, and Cam Thomas. He's good. I'm not trying to discredit him, but just trying to break down what LSU's working with offensively. Trenton Watford's a handful. Darius Days. If Arkansas played Darius Days again, he would not miss all 8 of his three-point attempts. He would hurt him in some way from deep. But LSU's got flaws. They don't defend. A couple weeks ago, I was telling you the only team in the league that's got a worse overall defensive efficiency rating this year is Vanderbilt. But LSU's a pretty good team because they're really, really talented offensively. For Ole Miss, that's a team that struggled to score a lot this year. They can really defend, and they've got some talented pieces, I think, on the defensive end, but their favorite shot is the mid-range jumper. I just don't think that's going to carry you I just don't think that's going to carry you a lot of places. Devontae Shuler's good. Romello White's pretty good. Arkansas really limited him when Ole Miss came to Bud. Who else is left? South Carolina. Yeah, they're just not any good. So I think if Arkansas wins its first game against Georgia or Missouri, I like their path to Sunday a lot. And there's a chance because who's the 8-9? Is it Mississippi State and Kentucky?
Yes.
I don't want to see Kentucky on a neutral floor.
No.
If I'm Alabama.
No.
Right? And
you're exactly right.
Mississippi State's got some nice pieces. They kind of make games ugly too, but Molinar's good, DJ Stewart's good, Abdul Adu, he's pretty good rim protector. I think Arkansas's probably got a better path to the finals than anybody in the upper half.
Here's the question I pose to you. I'm going to ask you to look into your crystal ball a little bit. Arkansas wins and makes it to the championship game. You said a little earlier, but I want to dive into this just a little bit. If they make it to the championship game, are they a 2 in the NCAA tournament?
I think they'd have a strong case for it, yeah.
Okay.
That would be, 11 straight wins in the regular season to in the SEC. And then
12,
Friday makes it 12, Saturday
makes
13. You're gonna, I don't know. I would have to compare the resumes of the teams that are also in contention for a 2, but Arkansas would have as strong of a case as anyone, I would think.
Does it matter if they play Alabama or not? Because Alabama's a 2 right now, according to
I think
Lenardi.
if they get to the finals and they play Alabama, beat Alabama, they're a 2.
Okay. I think that you're exactly right. They get to, if they beat Alabama or if they play Alabama.
Oh, if they play Alabama and beat Alabama, they're a 2.
Okay.
If they play Alabama, lose to Alabama, I think there's, I don't know that you're a 2, but you're comfortably that top 3 seed.
Okay. That makes sense.
But if Arkansas plays Alabama close and loses, I don't know. I still think they would have a case as a 2, but I think they're very comfortable as a 3.
I think a lot of weight. If Arkansas ends up playing Alabama as the 1-2 in the SEC tournament final, I think a lot of weight is going to be put on that game.
Mm-hmm.
as far as who gets the 2, who gets the 3 in seeding, because these two teams split in the regular season and Arkansas didn't have Justin Smith the first time they played. I really think that would be a game on a neutral court where they would decide who the best team in the SEC actually is. Not necessarily gone off a record, but for right now, who is the best team in the SEC? Because Arkansas has a strong case for that right now. Alabama does too.
Each team's won on their home floor. Let's say you won on a neutral floor.
So I think that would be a strong case for who would get the 2 and where you would end up finishing versus the 3. And honestly, I think it would be who is the best team in the SEC at that point.
Yeah, I would love this. That would be an awesome way to spend a Sunday afternoon, and I would love to see what changes each coaching staff makes to prepare for the other. Right. I think there could be that could be a game with some really, really interesting, chess matches, or like it could be that's a big time chess match, and like coaches could be going back and forth making big time moves.
And if they do play, just a reminder, it's the 3rd game in 3 days. Yeah. So there could be some tired bodies up and down the court with Alabama. You got to worry about legs if you're Alabama, and Arkansas about making threes. But
I don't feel like you can use that as a crutch though, because like you played so well that you earned some extra time off.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
It's valid. That is very valid. All right, well, that'll wrap it up here for us on the basketball podcast of Mid-America. Great stuff as always from Scottie Bordelon. You can follow him on Twitter at NWA Scottie. You can stay up to date. Make sure to check out his story on Devo Davis on wholehogsports.com. It'll be there shortly. And you can also follow me on Twitter at Seth Campbell 5. Make sure to join our tournament challenge group, Basketball Podcast of Mid-America, on the ESPN Tournament Challenge. It is just called, I just said Basketball Podcast of Mid-America. It is called BPMA. So BPMA on the ESPN Tournament Challenge app or online, either way. There could be a prize involved. Scottie and I are working through it, so make sure to join us there. Also, keep your eyes peeled, because the plan is for Scottie and I to drop a podcast and a basketball and a show on YouTube on Selection Sunday after the brackets are announced. We're working hard for you up here. We want to talk a little bit about Arkansas's performance in the SEC tournament and then the matchups, because I've said it multiple times here on the BPMA. The NCAA tournament is all about the matchup. So when that tournament is finally set, that field is set, the 68 are in, Scottie and I will be here, and we're going to try and break that down and get that to you on Sunday night. So make sure to subscribe. If you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe there. If you're listening, wherever you're listening, you can subscribe. You can also check out wholehogsports.com for more information. Well, for Scottie Bordelon, I am Seth Campbell saying so long, and we will see you back here, well, later this week.